Hi guys! Today is a very exciting video because it's kind of a get to know me Q&A. A couple of weeks ago I asked you here on YouTube and on my Instagram account to send me some questions about me so I can make this video for you, and I received so many, like even more probably than for my previous Q&A right here. I'm so grateful for all of you who sent me these questions, and let's dive straight in. I've seen so many new subscribers here on this channel over the past month, so I wanted to welcome you all here. My name is Lily. My husband Ollie and I moved to Calgary with our two girls about a year and a half ago from the UK, and ever since we've been exploring Calgary, Alberta and around, and documenting it for you. So if that's something that you want to follow, please click the subscribe button and welcome. So I have my little notebook here because, as I said, the questions were coming from YouTube and Instagram. I had to put them all in one place, so forgive me if I just keep looking at the question. First question was, what did you study back in college? I actually have a master's degree in finance. However, I really don't want to pursue a career in finance. I like what I do now, which is social media, and finance is something I don't really have a passion for. I studied in Ukraine, and in Ukraine it's kind of a thing that you go after something that could potentially bring you money in your future when you choose your profession, and getting into finance for a girl was kind of the right thing to do at the time. However, I never really had a passion for it, so I moved on from it pretty quickly when I moved to England and then to Canada, and I never really want to go back to finance. Next question we have: is there some skill or talent you wish you had or you want to learn? I wish I had a couple more arms to help me out with the kids. I would like to study and acquire like an actual skill in videography. So what you see now is my natural passion. I love making videos. However, I don't really have the equipment for videography. I don't have enough time and energy to pursue this. I don't want to make excuses, and I think if that's something I really want, I really should go for it. I'm just going to give it another year with the kids. When the kids go to school or preschool, I will definitely go after it and get more into videography. I'm going to get the right equipment. I'm going to go out there and practice lots and lots. I will probably try and make friends with other videographers here in the area. So if you know any great videographers or YouTubers from Alberta that don't do so much vlogging but more of videography, so beautiful footage put together, hit me up in the comments and I'll check them out. Thank you. Where are you from and how long have you been in Canada? This question is probably coming from somebody who hasn't been following me for a very long time, but I'm originally from Ukraine. I've lived in Ukraine for 25 years. Then when I met my husband Ollie, we both moved to England. He moved from France, I moved from Ukraine, and we lived in England for 10 years, and we've been in Canada for almost a year and a half now. How did you and Ollie meet? I can't quite remember, but I think I mentioned it in this video, but it's a nice story, so I'll tell you all again. At the time, so about 12 years ago, I was interested in learning French, and I was on this chat app kind of thing, ICQ. I don't know if you guys remember, I'm very old. I tried to find somebody who would speak French and English fluently so I could reach out to them in English and we could practice French together, and just this way I stumbled onto Ollie's account and we started talking, and 12 years later, 2 countries later, and 2 beautiful daughters later, here we are. What's your favorite restaurant breakfast spot in Calgary? I'll start with the breakfast spot because it's an easy one for me. I adore OEB breakfast. It's a spot, I don't really know how many spots they have in Calgary. I think it might be more than one, but the one that I've been to and I love is located downtown, and I just love it so much. They do like the best eggs, and they do breakfast poutine, which is not your regular poutine. It's all like duck fat fried potatoes with truffles and stuff like that. So it doesn't really sound or look or taste like your regular poutine, but I do love it and I can't wait to go back. When it comes to our favorite restaurants, I probably mentioned in my previous videos, we don't really go out so much because we have 2 small kids. They behave very well in restaurants, but we just find it a bit of an exhausting experience to go out with the kids. And when we do go out, just the 2 of us, it's sometimes disappointing, so I can't say that I really enjoy those restaurants. However, there is a restaurant which is like a chain restaurant here in Canada. It's called Joey or Joey's restaurant, and we have one nearby. And when we went there, I think once, it was a very pleasant surprise and I can't wait to go back there. They do kind of a mix of different cuisines, but the Asian food is really, really good. So it's a chain, nothing fancy, but they're very kid friendly and the food is really delicious. How many languages do you speak and what are they? Fluently, I speak 3 languages, Ukrainian, Russian and English. I can understand a bit of French. I cannot understand for the life of me the Quebecois French. I understand some words, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know, it's something maybe to do with a bit of an accent. Quebecois French is all over Canada, but that's where it kind of originates from, I think. It's called Quebecois French, but I am struggling to understand it. The French is easier for me to understand, and sometimes if I really need to, I can attempt to speak French, which just isn't really working, but I enjoy trying. How often do you doubt you move to Canada? Do you ever think you should have remained in England or perhaps moved to France? Never. We like it here. It's really nice. We feel like it's our home and we don't really doubt moving here. However, I can't tell you 100% that we will stay here forever. We wouldn't have stayed in England. Not that we hated it there, it was just we fancied a change and moved to Canada, and maybe one day we'll fancy a change again. We wouldn't go back to England. Nothing wrong with it, I really miss England, but if we have an opportunity to try something different, I wouldn't want to go back to England. I would, in a heartbeat, move to France, but Ollie, being French, he wants to experience something different, so it's unlikely. But again, I can't say never, because now that we have kids, we find that we really miss that family connection, and the majority of our family is in France. I have family in Ukraine, but it's just my mom and my brother. And if we do move back to Europe, maybe France, it will be easier for my mom and brother to travel and see us, so that would be really cool. Which place is your favorite one to visit in England? Like everything. I really liked it there. It's a beautiful country and it's really different. I think for a visit, London is the best because there's just so much going on, and we didn't live in London when we were in the UK. We lived in Southampton in the south of England, but it was a really short drive, like an hour and a half to London. And it was always very exciting to go to London, seeing all those places that you only see in the movies and seeing all these things going on all the time. It was pretty cool. I really enjoyed Scotland, but no, the question was about England, so no Scotland then. But yeah, London is the best place to visit, I think. It's super exciting. Do you feel Canadian already, or do you feel like a foreigner here? How do you local treat you, sorry? I don't really feel Canadian, but I don't really feel foreign. Canada is kind of a mix of foreigners from all over the place, and whether you are I don't know, first Canadian in your family, or your family has lived here for decades, there is someone like your neighbor, somebody in your family who has immigrated to Canada, and you know firsthand what it's like to either have somebody in your family or somebody close to you going through this process. So people are pretty open to people from other countries and from other cultures. I find it. Nobody treated me like you come from somewhere else and you don't really like speak the language. Probably because I do speak the language fluently, but no, and I don't want to like identify myself as a Canadian. I'm proud of where I come from. In England, I was really trying to blend in purely for the reason that I wanted to speak the language so fluently. But here I'm really happy where I come from. I'm really proud of where I come from, of my experiences, of my heritage. So I'm very comfortable. Did you adapt to the Canadian winters quickly? Well, yeah, like, do you have a choice really? We moved beginning of December 2017, so we moved during winter, and it was just something that, like, you don't have a choice. You don't really have to pick whether you adapt or not adapt. You just go for it, get yourself a warm jacket and shoes, and off you go. It's really a lifestyle. Winter is long, winter is harsh, but this is life now. What do you miss about the UK the most? My friends. It took me a long time to make friends in the UK, a lot longer than it takes me here in Canada. I think it's a lot easier in Canada. But the friends that I made in England, they're my lifelong friends. I really miss them. I miss milder winters, and I miss like proper spring as well, when everything blossoms, because here is just like snow and then summer. That was what happened last year. I don't know, we'll see this year what happens. Maybe it will be all blossoming all over. But this is what it's like in Calgary for now, and I do miss the spring when everything wakes up and it's beautiful. It's not just like scorching heat straight away. But that's about it. Really miss my friends. In one of your previous videos, you were talking about mortgaging house and you sort of regretting it. Can you please explain why? I can. I do love our house. However, it was a big difference, big change in our monthly expenses when we moved to the house compared to what we paid when we were renting a townhouse in the southwest of Calgary. Our house is bigger and it's in a different neighborhood, but I don't think the prices are that much different. We had a townhouse and now we have a standalone house with the backyard, which we didn't have in the townhouse. The area is really quiet, but the expenses for the mortgage every month really hit us. I do like the area where we live, but we also kind of regret the neighborhood that we picked. It's wonderful. It's very quiet though, and I think we could have tried to maybe rent somewhere closer to downtown, like Mount Pleasant or Crescent Heights or something like that. These are the areas that I absolutely adore, and that it's just so close to downtown. You don't have to live downtown and you get the larger property, but still like the view and accessibility. So yeah, I kind of regret living so far away from downtown. There's not much happening on like a daily basis, or maybe I'm just not looking at the right places. But yeah, I would suggest don't jump straight into a mortgage, and maybe rent in a few different areas and pick the one that you really like. What was your line of work in England? I'm quite proud of that, because this is how I learned to speak English so well. I worked in customer service, so nothing super exciting, but I was facing customers every day, like 8 hours a day. Happy customers, not so happy customers, and I needed to make them happy. So I was talking to people all day, almost every day, apart from the weekends. That was the first few years. And then I worked with Ollie's company in social media, and I loved that job. I adored that job. So now I'm kind of trying to direct myself more towards social media, because that's what I have natural passion for as well. But I'm really proud of me working maybe at a lower level to start with in England in customer service, but I feel like I'm very, very comfortable with my English right now. You seem to like the Auburn Bay mahogany areas. If you had to do it again, would you have chosen that area, or are you happy where you are? We're kind of happy where we are, but again, going back to what I said previously, Auburn Bay and mahogany are pretty far away from downtown. and I would really like to try living closer to downtown rather than farther away. And the last question, what is the biggest difference between British people and Canadian people? Which place was easier to make friends? Hands down, Canada is a lot easier for me personally to make friends, because I'm the kind of person that would go to people and start talking to them, and I have no problems approaching people with whatever I have on my mind. And people are pretty receptive as well, and they generally wouldn't walk away from you if you started talking to them. People, I can't say whether people are nicer in the UK or Canada. I think people are a lot more polite actually in England. It's just my opinion. Down in the south of England, people were so extremely polite. When you let them cross the road, when you stop the car for people to cross the road, they will always say thank you. Here, not so much. It's a very joyful occasion if somebody says thank you when you let them cross the road. I think the internet is pretty full on in Canada. I don't remember seeing so many trolls in the UK. Maybe I wasn't exposed to it as much as I am here. But yeah, my general feeling is that people were more polite in the UK. However, the kind of sense of community is a lot more prominent in Canada, and I really love that. And it's just easier to make friends with Canadians because, as I said at the beginning of this video, there is somebody in everybody's family or immediate close friendships that have moved to Canada, and people had to see firsthand what it takes to kind of become a part of the community for other people. So people are a lot more accepting. But I do miss the UK because over the years, the friends that I made, the people were fantastic. I don't feel like there's a huge difference between the UK and Canada. I think that's why it's pretty easy for Ollie and I to live here, and for our kids as well, because it's pretty much the same culture, the same language. We understand each other, and we have no problems in either of the countries. So yeah, if you are considering moving from the UK to Canada, I don't think you have that many problems. It's really a lovely place to live. That's it, we're done with the questions. Again, I'm so grateful for all the questions that you guys sent me, and I had to combine some of the questions because they were pretty similar. I answered as many as I could, and again, thank you so much for sending them over. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're new here, and I'll see you all again next time.